Following the recent decision from Fed Chair Powell to keep interest rates where they currently are, many within the blockchain and crypto space believe that altcoin season has been delayed for just a little bit longer. Now, that doesn't mean that building is stopped, especially within the Cardano ecosystem. As a part of today's video, we're going to be reviewing all of the latest developments. What's up, Ada Gang? Welcome into Dapp Central, your home for everything blockchain and crypto. I'm your host here for Reed. As a part of today's video, a massive set of news updates as it relates to the Cardano ecosystem, as well as the Midnight Network and Quantum Hosky. Now we're going to talk about Snek as well, which has broken and paved the way for Cardano native assets, as well as Project Catalyst funding round number 14, which is officially underway. We're going to review the timelines and exactly what Catalyst brings this time around. And then we're going to talk a little bit more about Shield USD, or the first ever stablecoin to launch on the Midnight Network, as well as ongoing governance updates and actions. And then we're going to close out by reviewing some miscellaneous updates. Now, before we go any further, if it's your first time stopping by the channel, my goal is to help you find your footing within the Cardano and Bitcoin ecosystems. And if you appreciate content like this, I would appreciate you if you could smash that thumbs up on the way in. It is by far one of the easiest ways to show your support here on the channel. If you appreciate that and you want more, consider subscribing. And if you have any questions, comments, or concerns, or maybe I missed something, feel free to voice off down below. Now, if you want to extend your support for the channel even further, I am a stake pool operator contributing to the Dapp Central stake pools, which both share the ticker DAPP. Again, the support and contributions to the channel as well as the stake pool do mean a lot, and I want to take the opportunity to just reiterate my thanks. We're going to jump right on in. We are officially 3 days away from the official Rare Evo event, or 4 days away from the official Rare Evo event. I'm going to be there in attendance. We can expect to see IOG, Midnight, their foundation, Apex Fusion, World Mobile, the Minutes Network, representation from Solana, Polkadot, Grayscale, Coinbase, the Cardano Foundation, just to name a few. There's going to be a lot of big banks there as well. We see Citibank. We also see the mention of Deloitte and a lot of the top DeFi protocols within and outside the Cardano network. If you've missed this, this is by far one of the biggest multi-chain events here. I'll leave the link to my official discount code down below. But if you have yet to pick up your ticket and you want to, you can pick up either the GA ticket for $350, the VIP for $1,200, and there's also the Whale Pass available for $10,000. Now, if you want to get an additional 10% off of what you see as the price listed here, make sure to use the discount code DC10 at checkout. And again, look forward to seeing you guys there at the upcoming event. Now, we're going to dive right on into updates as it relates to Quantum Hosky, which is essentially Charles Hoskinson's new pet project. Now, I just did a live stream here for about an hour and a half with Trim Brewstead, who's actually leading all of the core development for this brand new feature, for this brand new game, I should actually call it, which will be run using EEG headsets, as well as incorporating AI and some of the most cutting edge technology when it comes to quantum physics and quantum computing. And so the official website is available at quantumhosky.iog.io. We are expecting a demo at the actual Rare Evo event, so I'll be attending and making sure to get you guys some interesting alpha here. We're also expecting to hear directly from Trim and Marcus Vest, the biomedical engineer from IOG. So again, this is going to be really interesting. Charles has teased us for quite a bit here, and he's talked about not just including the main meme coin from Cardano, which is Hosky, but also incorporating and sort of incentivizing other meme tokens to also be represented, therefore driving their communities, right, to also play around and to jump into the Quantum Hosky game. Now, I broke down the fact that I met with Trim earlier. They did release a nice 45-second teaser or trailer breaking down some of what they've already built. Of course, this is all still currently in the works, and so nothing finalized just yet, and no promises being made in terms of delivery dates just yet. However, you can expect the incorporation of EEG headsets, like I mentioned earlier, the inclusion of quantum computing, dish brains, as well as AI. So this is all that we've got so far, just a pretty simple landing page. But if you want to go ahead and join the community, especially the Hosky community, you can go ahead and do so by following their official Twitter, which is @HoskyToken. Now, ahead of Rare Evo, they've prepared a giveaway which is pretty simple to actually go ahead and take advantage of. So you have to do three things. The first is to follow the official Hosky account on X. Second, like and retweet this particular post. I'll leave the link to it down below. And then third, reply in the comments with the hashtag Quantum Hosky. It looks like they're trying to get this trending here, and anything you can do to show support definitely goes a long way. And of course, there's the opportunity to earn an extra $500 in USD. Next, we've got some bittersweet news when it comes to Snek. So let's start off here with the sweet before we go into the sour. The first bit of news here is the fact that Snek is now officially listed on crypto.com, which is one of the biggest exchanges here in the USA. Now, we've got a listing already with Kraken. That was a first for Kraken, Snek being the first ever Cardano native asset listed on a tier 1 exchange there. And they're now doing it again, being the first Cardano native asset listed on crypto.com. So shout out to the entire Snek team, a massive community here, which has shown that there is demand, especially for this meme coin here. And if you've missed it, about maybe a month and a half ago, we saw IOG, right, Input Output Global, partnering with Snek in order to be able to boost the visibility of their community, therefore indirectly boosting the visibility of Cardano. So that's the really positive news there. Again, congrats to the Snek team. Now let's maybe shift gears here into some of the not so sweet news. And that is the fact that the Snek team has taken the opportunity to put in a withdrawal request from the Cardano Treasury for about 5 million ADA in order to push forward additional tier 1 listings, including main on-ramps, as well as a listing on a platform called Hyperliquid, which is essentially a leverage trading platform very similar to Strike. However, they support some of the biggest tokens outside of Cardano. They're a pretty mainstream platform at this point. But nonetheless, Snek is essentially putting in a request to get funds from the Cardano Treasury and to be able to continue pushing forward in terms of CNT asset support or Cardano native asset support. Now, what makes this a little bit unfortunate is the fact that the Snek team actually skipped a piece of the process here, which requires for them to put in an information action, which needs to be approved first by the community before they actually put in the withdrawal action. Now, if you aren't aware, anytime that you put in a particular action, you have to actually put in a collateral amount of 100,000 ADA. So let's jump over to the proposals here. We've got the first one here, which it looks like they made a mistake and only requested 5 ADA. And as you can see here, their deposit was 100,000 ADA. And then there was a second proposal submitted about an hour later where they actually submitted it for 5 million ADA. And again, another 100,000 ADA was put in for the deposit or as collateral. Now, the problem here is that this team went and put in a withdrawal action immediately, skipping over the required informational action. And so because of that, both of these proposals are essentially unconstitutional. There might be other hiccups here within the actual proposals itself, but that alone makes this not passable or unconstitutional, meaning the 100,000 ADA for both of these proposals essentially goes away. And if I'm not mistaken, actually goes straight to the Treasury. I'll have to double check that, but we saw Big Pay actually making a very similar mistake when governance officially kicked off. He was lucky enough to be able to get that 100,000 ADA refunded, but I'm not sure if that's going to happen here again with the Snek team. We'll have to stand by and actually see. Now, the community is torn because some people think that this particular proposal, again, if it does pass, only talks about Snek. It doesn't talk about listing other assets. And Charles Hoskinson actually stepped in to weigh in on what this means to him. So he states here, it would be interesting to see if they could actually structure this proposal as a bond on the Snek network or based on the Snek network activities that gradually repays the Treasury in ADA with interest over a 3-year time frame. Charles supports the Snek community. Of course, IOG's partnered up with them, but no one, he states, is getting listing fees, including midnight, to be covered by the Cardano Treasury. So even if they resubmit this year and they go through the informational process first, Charles still believes that this shouldn't pass and that no project, including midnight, should have their listing fees being covered using funds coming directly from the Cardano Treasury. Looking over at Hosky, he also states here that no withdrawals from the Cardano blockchain treasury And this is coming in here directly from the Constitution. In Section 3, shall be permitted unless withdrawals have been authorized and are being made pursuant to a budget for the Cardano blockchain that is then in effect. So again, the informational action missing, this not being a part of the actual budget, and the fact that this team just went and submitted it right away. And with what Charles has mentioned, it doesn't seem like this will actually pass, but it started a really good conversation. And I think a lot of that will come back to, again, give more clarity to community projects, but then also potentially create the need to update the Cardano Constitution. So in closing, we've got Utah, one of the biggest D-reps here in the Cardano ecosystem, stating, I am increasingly becoming more and more convinced that removing the budget information action from the Cardano Constitution would actually be a good idea. It's unnecessarily complex and burdens the ecosystem. Again, this is what governance is all about. We live and we learn. And in instances like this, I'm sure that the Snek team has learned a lot. And hopefully this is also an experience and a learning opportunity for others, right, that were thinking about putting in proposals on their own to double check the Constitution, to become familiar with everything that is required to put in or to happen before an actual withdrawal action can actually take place. Now, while we're speaking about governance, we're going to dive a little bit deeper into that in just a moment. But we do have IOG as well as Midgard being the first two projects to be officially funded through an official withdrawal action from the recent budget that was approved for, I want to say it was 39 different Cardano proposals. So we're going to dive a little bit deeper into that here in just a moment. But before we do, we're going to talk about Midnight. So Midnight is a data privacy focused blockchain, which is going to be actually releasing their Glacier drop any day now. And I've talked about that here quite a bit on the channel. I'll leave the link to that particular content or that video down below. As always, please, I appreciate if you guys can watch that content, smash that thumbs up and share it, especially as the Glacier drop gets ready to drop here. I personally think that that's going to be coming sometime soon, potentially during Rare Evo. We're going to hear from Fahmy Syed, the president of the Midnight Foundation, who's been teasing when Glacier drop. Now, this article was just released on the 31st of July, so literally just about a day or so ago, but it breaks down the allocation for the Night token airdrop, in particular, how many wallets within each ecosystem will actually be eligible and how much of the total allocation will be going towards said ecosystem. So in terms of eligibility, you have to have a wallet address within the following networks: Cardano, Bitcoin, ETH, Solana, XRP, BNB, Avalanche, or Brave, or the BAT blockchain. And then you had to have, during the snapshot, at least $100 worth of said token. So on ADA or on Cardano, that would have been holding ADA. On Bitcoin, you would have had to hold at least $100 of Bitcoin. On ETH, you would have had to hold at least $100 of ETH in your wallet, and so on for the other remaining chains. Moving down, we can see exactly how many wallets were eligible for each particular ecosystem. For the sake of time, I won't break all of this down, but it was really good to be able to see, right, how much of an allocation will be going towards each blockchain. Now, shout out here to Stake with Pride for breaking all of this math down, giving us a rough idea of how much of the Night token you can expect to get, depending on how much ADA you would have had when the snapshot was actually taken back in early June. So if you hold 100 ADA, or excuse me, 1,000 ADA, you'll be receiving roughly around 356 or 346 of the Night tokens. If you hold 10,000 ADA, or if you held 10,000 ADA, you'll be receiving roughly 3,400 of the Night tokens. And as you guys can see there, that ratio going all the way down to 1 million ADA, which would reward you with 346,000 of the Night tokens. Now, going a little bit deeper into the math, and shout out here to Yarmir Tessar. He's basically figured out that if you were holding a particular amount of Night tokens, right, and if Night were to come in at a penny versus 10 cents versus $1, how much the actual airdrop amount would be worth. So looking at the very bottom here, if you hold, or if you held 100K ADA, that would give you somewhere around 346 Night tokens based off of the previous slide there coming in from Stake with Pride. And if Night were to come in at a penny, that would be an airdrop amount of roughly around $2 to $4. If Night were to come in at a valuation of 10 cents, that would equal roughly around $20 to $40. And if the Night token were to come in at a value of $1 per token, that would then give you roughly $200 to $400. So depending on how much ADA you held, again, we can go up each particular row here. But as you guys can see, I mean, this could definitely be a huge, huge amount for some of the whales in the ecosystem. i.e. if you hold roughly around 1 million ADA, that could give you somewhere between a range of $2,000 all the way to $200,000, again, depending on the valuation of the actual Night token. Now, that is the missing link here. Nobody knowing exactly how much this will be worth at launch. We have seen Charles mentioning the fact that this could potentially come in with a market cap. When I say this, I'm talking about the Night token of a valuation of roughly $10 billion. Cardano right now, I want to say currently at maybe $15 to $20 billion. And so again, none of this is set in stone. We're going to have to see exactly how much liquidity there is and how much of a valuation there is behind the Night token. And once we have an idea of that, we can revisit some of this math here to get a better idea of how much the actual airdrop will be valued at. Now, before we continue any further, if you've been enjoying this type of content, I would appreciate you if you could smash that thumbs up. Again, it's one of the simplest ways to support me as a content creator. If you want more, consider subscribing. And if you have any questions, comments, or concerns, feel free to voice off down below. Now, we have to talk about Project Catalyst. For anybody who isn't aware, Project Catalyst is essentially a way to support the Cardano ecosystem. And the way that we're able to do that is by using funds allocated to Catalyst, where there's going to be a voting process, an ideation process, and an implementation process as well. So initially, we're going to have proposers who propose their ideas to the community. If you're an ADA holder, you've got the opportunity to actually vote for said proposals. Once the community votes, we then have the distribution process and a milestone approach where projects that have been funded essentially meet milestones. And as they do, they receive more funding all the way up until their entire proposal has been completed and their idea is released on the Cardano mainnet. We've got some quick stats here coming in from the team. They've released what they call their Catalyst Horizons report, which breaks this down in even more detail. I'll leave the link to the official Catalyst platform down below. Now, why is this important? Well, we've got funding round number 14, which is officially opened up. This was done on August 1st, and the first round for submitting your ideas finishes or closes on the 18th of August. So we've got roughly around 3 weeks from the time that this video is going out in order to go ahead and actually ideate and make your submissions for funding round number 14. Now, looking at the official website, after the proposal submission phase completes, we have the community review stage taking place from August 22nd all the way through September 17th. After that, we've got community voting from the 22nd of September all the way to October 6th, followed by the set of voting results coming out sometime in the week of August 6th. And then we've got project onboarding in the first round of ADA distributions taking place sometime in late October or November. If you want more information about Catalyst in general, I'll leave the link to the actual launch guide down below. This breaks down all the details, how it works, how much ADA is allocated towards each category, which I'm going to briefly highlight here. So we got Cardano use cases getting 12.5 million ADA, Cardano Open with a total of 6.1 million ADA, concepts, which are essentially ideas that don't have any sort of MVP, getting a budget of $4 million. We've got developers getting an allocation of 3 million ADA, partners and products, essentially big names or big brand ideas, getting roughly 8.5 million ADA. And then we've got the ecosystem proposals getting a budget of roughly 3 million ADA. Again, more information here about Catalyst Horizons, how many projects and proposals have been voted on, and the sort of net impact, right? Which hopefully is positive that Catalyst has had here in the Cardano ecosystem. Next, we're going to talk a little bit about stablecoins here and the Midnight Network. So we talked about the fact that the Glacier drop is coming. And in preparation, we've got builders, including the USDM team, meeting at the brand new IOG office in Buenos Aires, Argentina. And so here we've got the team here all sort of huddled around, talking and probably going through some complex issues, when it comes to privacy and stablecoins. And I want to actually read something here from one of the CTOs of the USDM team. But again, additional pictures here. We've got JJ Seiler speaking to the entire crew. And Charles states here, Moneta is rocking it. Moving over, more pictures and a couple more here. And this is where things get interesting. They start talking about private stablecoins on the Midnight Network. Again, a couple more pictures here where Charles states, amazing workshop down in Buenos Aires, making progress on the first ever private stablecoin. We've got piloting him there, the CTO from Sunday Swap. So again, representation from the Midnight team, Cardano, IOG, and USDM. Now, this leads us to the introduction of Shield USD, which will be launching on midnight. It states here that Shield USD is a fiat-backed privacy stablecoin on the Midnight blockchain issued by Moneta Digital LLC, the creator of USDM, who is also backed by W3I Software. And so I just want to read a brief piece here to put this into context, where Andrew Westberg, the CTO from USDM or from Moneta, states, the stablecoin is a small but important piece of the discussion in Buenos Aires. That being said, the complexity of doing this in a private way is 10 to 20 times that of USDM. So he states here, imagine doing company payroll where Bob needs to see and control what he receives, where Alice also needs to see and control her amounts, but cannot see Bob's, where in Mary, who's in the accounting department, also has to have the rights to see both of their accounts and how much they both received, but not know who the actual amounts have gone to. In addition, Steph, the CFO, needs to be able to view everything that everyone's received, and Agent Smith needs to be given access to see everything if he has a court order during discovery because the company is currently under investigation. So you've literally got all of these different people that are interacting with the same privacy-focused stablecoin, but they all need to have different levels of access depending on what they do for a particular company. And that's where the complexity comes in. So again, really cool to see a lot of this stuff at its very early stages, where Charles Hoskinson mentions Moneta's USDM is becoming one of the most advanced stablecoins to be ever built. And that was in response to that tweet there posted by Andrew Westberg that I just got done reading. In closing, looking at USDM on Cardano, they've officially broken over the $12 million milestone. Congrats to that team as they continue to mint and burn here pretty frequently within the Cardano ecosystem. Next, we're talking about governance, where we've got the first 2 treasury withdrawals out of the 39 that were passed by the Intersect budget or by the Intersect committee here, where we've got 96 million ADA going directly towards IOG, where their engineering firm will be working on the core developments or the core features for the year of 2025. And huge congrats here to the Midgard team, who also got their treasury withdrawal approved for roughly 2.1 million ADA to deliver on their optimistic rollup or their layer 2, which will be a ZK powered platform. Now, jumping over to the official IOG article about their recent approval, it mentions that they'll be working to complete development on Ouroboros Laos, on Hydra, on Mithril, as well as nested transactions, Project Acropolis, and they'll also be working to make general performance optimizations, including faster sync times, reducing the amount of RAM used by the Cardano node, and reducing other operational costs for stake pool operators. Next, we have the fact that the update will be coming towards the Constitutional Committee. And so as it currently stands, we've got, I want to say it's IOG, we've got the Cardano Foundation, we've got Emergo, and a few community-based seats. This essentially is a huge step because what this means is that IOG, the Cardano Foundation, and Emergo could potentially not be re-elected as one of the 7 members of the Constitutional Committee. As it currently stands, they are, but that doesn't always mean that they will be. The same could also be said for the other members of the Constitutional Committee. So let me actually jump back into the Snek proposal here. And if I zoom in just a little bit, we've got the current Constitutional Committee here, which consists of the Cardano Atlantic Council, the Eastern Cardano Council, the Cardano Foundation Emergo IOG, the Cardano Japan Council, and the Intersect MBO. So again, all 7 of these seats here will be up for re-election, and it's going to be up to the current ADA holders to vote on who they'd like to see there as a part of that process. So it states here that the current ICC, or the current Interim Constitutional Committee, will expire at the end of epoch number 580, and this particular governance action expiry aligns with that deadline to ensure a seamless transition to the new elected members. Now, following the results of the CC election process, DREPs and SPOs will be voting to ratify and to enact the following 7 members. That includes the Cardano Atlantic Council. Let's see here. Tingvard, I'm not sure who that is. The Eastern Cardano Council, which both of these 2 are already members of the current ICC. We've got KTORS, we've got the ACE Alliance, and then we've got the Cardano Japan Council, which is already a sitting member. And then we've got Phil, the founder of Anastasia Labs, who's also going to be joining. So I do apologize. It looks like these 7 members have already been selected. It's just going to be a matter of ratifying this on chain. But again, IOG officially stepping aside, the Cardano Foundation officially stepping aside, Emergo and the Intersect MB also stepping aside. So these are the new 7 members, or these will be the new 7 members of the Cardano Constitutional Committee. I believe that that's really it there. Jumping into the very last piece, we've got some general updates here. So if you guys aren't aware, Emergo used to have what they call their Emergo Academy, essentially a platform for learning and understanding the Cardano blockchain, covering fundamentals and the basics. And all of that content has officially been open source and will be going towards the community. And so I'll be breaking that information down here as they do release it. But just wanted to at least mention that for anybody who wants to continue to consume some of that content. Moving over, we have the US White House, who's released a 166-page document outlining the US's policies and stance on digital assets. And on page 13, there's a minor mention of Cardano. I'll be breaking that down in a separate video. But here we've got the Strengthening American Leadership in Digital Financial Technology document, or the White House Crypto Report, which is roughly 141 pages. So again, massive, massive, massive document here. This would definitely require a series of its own. For the sake of time, I can't break this down, of course, but definitely expect some more content here. And here's that page here showing some of the assets and top blockchains with the inclusion of Cardano. As we get ready to close things down, we have the Cardano card, which has been released here. You can find out more about it at cardanocard.io. This will essentially allow for you to top the card up with ADA and to be able to use that like a traditional debit or credit card at any POS or point of sale system. Now, they've got an ongoing competition here for designing the actual card. But if you want to find out more about it, again, you can head over to the official website, which is cardanocard.io. So it talks about here the power of the future. Again, being able to leverage direct access to your hard-earned ADA. You'll be able to stake your ADA balance and continuously earn rewards, even as you're making purchases. You'll be able to use this to borrow stablecoins using your ADA as collateral. In addition, you'll be able to get access to exclusive airdrops by holding the card or by using the card, all while maintaining self-custody privileges. And again, you'll be able to design, or at least right now, there is a design competition for the community to be able to sort of guide the vision or the visual aspects of how this card actually looks. So I'll leave the link to this down below again, but really excited to see how this is going to come about. And I'll definitely, be reaching out to the Emergo team who's going to be launching this to see if I can get more information from them about how this is actually going to roll out, when we can expect for it to come out, and all of that good stuff. Whew. Quite the episode there. I had to pick up the pace. That was roughly around 30 minutes. Hopefully you guys have found this to be helpful. Again, a lot of things going on here in the Cardano ecosystem. And if you have found this to be helpful, I would appreciate you if you could smash that thumbs up on the way out. If you want more content like this, consider subscribing to the channel. And if you have any questions, comments, or concerns, feel free to voice off down below. That said, and as always, I'll see you guys in the next video.